are having right now to speak freely. At that time, Madam Waters never raised her voice to denounce the horrors of socialism, Mr. Speaker. For that reason, I am asking Madam Waters.
For what purpose the lady from California seeks recognition?
I move to take her words down. When you try to talk about communism light, or you try to describe socialism when you don't know what it is, and so I am saying that I denounce this administration, this Trump's family, and all that is going on that's undermining our democracy.
Recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If there is someone who has seen the horrors of socialism up close within the Democratic Party, is in the House, and it's the Honorable Congresswoman Maxine Waters. And I would love for you to support this resolution specifically, because Madam Waters, for decades, you traveled to Cuba dozens of times to visit Fidel Castro personally, whom you consider your friend. Congresswoman Waters was in Havana, and she saw the destruction of biblical proportions that Castro caused on that island, who at the time in 1960 had the highest per capita income in the Western Hemisphere. At that time, Madam Waters knew that thousands and thousands of Cubans were escaping on a raft, exposing their lives and their children to be eaten by the sharks. She knew that Afro-Cubans were being beaten on the streets of Havana, discriminated against by Fidel Castro, Mr. Speaker. And for that reason, I am bringing up all these facts, because Madam Waters knew that the Cuban jails were full of political prisoners, and the Cubans did not have the same privileges that we are having right now to speak freely. At that time, Madam Waters never raised her voice to denounce the horrors of socialism, Mr. Speaker. For that reason, I am asking Madam Waters.
For what purpose the lady from California seeks recognition?
I move to take her words down.
Order. The House will be in order. The lady from California, for what purpose do you rise?
I rise to take down her words.
Lady from Florida, please be seated. I'd ask the clerk to please report the words. The lady from Florida is recognized.
All right, so I'm asking for unanimous consent to withdraw the violations of the rules and continue with my speech, which is that if there are many people on this floor that have seen.
Without objection, the words are withdrawn. Objection is heard. The objection is withdrawn. The gentlelady from Florida, her request is accepted with unanimous consent. The gentlelady from Florida is recognized. The gentleman from Arkansas.
The House is not in order.
The gentleman is correct. The House is not in order. With any luck, we'll get back to business. Please take your conversations off the floor of the House. The gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
There are many people on this floor who have seen the horrors of communism. They have been to Cuba. They have been friends with Fidel Castro. They have seen the jails full of Cuban prisoners. They have seen people preparing rafts to die in the middle of the ocean, eaten by sharks. There are many people on the Democratic Party who have witnessed that and have not said anything. So for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I am asking some of my colleagues on that side of the aisle, many of them who are very good friends of mine, to understand that denouncing communism and socialism is the right thing to do for the Democratic Party. And if some of the highest, most important members of the Democratic Party on that side of the aisle were to vote with us, they would be doing a very favor to the Republic, and not only that, to the Democratic Party. They will become the new champions, and the Democratic Party will be now the champion for freedom in the Western Hemisphere. I yield back.
Lady from Florida yields. The gentleman from Arkansas reserves. Chair recognizes the lady from California.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Ms. Salazar for withdrawing her words, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The lady from California reserves a balance of her time. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm prepared to close if the gentleman from California is.
Lady from California.
I am prepared to close, Mr. Speaker. Let's get on with this discussion about socialism. Mr. Speaker, instead of legislating and doing the work to tackle real problems that Americans face, like the skyrocketing cost of groceries, rising rents and mortgage payments, and the absolute...
Ladies and gentlemen, the House is not in order. Please take your conversations off the floor of the House. The lady from California is recognized.
Thank you so very much. Americans again face the skyrocketing cost of groceries, rising rents and mortgage payments, and the Republicans have always opposed Medicaid and Medicare, and they've been undermining it since day one. And they do not want to fix the catastrophic economic policies of this administration. And I want you to know that this administration is responsible for the situation that we find ourselves in with this failing economy. The Trump administration must take the credit for what is happening with the loss of food for our children for a limited period of time before we fought to get it back.
Lady's time has expired.
Vote no. Vote no. Vote no.
I vote no. I haven't finished, but I vote no. I want you to vote no because this is absolutely unnecessary.
The lady from California yields. Florida is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Honorable gentleman from Arkansas, the distinguished French Hill, Chairman of the Finance Services Committee, I thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be serving with you in your committee. And I'm just going, before I start, before I explain to this body why I'm introducing this resolution. When I was a journalist covering stories for Univision Network, I interviewed many people who had lost their legs or their brothers or sisters in the middle of the ocean trying to get to Miami, and the sharks ate them up. Some of them were eaten up alive, others lost legs, and they made it to Florida. And I was able, as a journalist, to interview them and see the horrors of what they had to go through because they were escaping the paradise called socialism. So I'm just going to start with that, and I'm going to finish maybe with another anecdote. But the reason why we're introducing this resolution is to condemn the horrors of socialism, and I'm presenting just the facts. And I invite my colleagues on the other side to vote to condemn this nefarious ideology. This has nothing to do with political parties. This is not a Democratic issue. This is not a Republican issue. This is a moral vote against an ideology that has destroyed millions and millions of families. Many of them, I serve those families in District Number 27, the heart of the city of Miami, the heart of the Cuban exile community, and now the Venezuelan community, and murdered more than 100 million lives, besides crushing hundreds of thousands of other families and individuals. Unfortunately, socialism and Marxism crushes the human soul. And it's not just my community in Miami, millions of Cubans who had to flee. And it's the rest of the hemisphere and the rest of the world. Just look at Russia, look at North Korea, look at Iran. And what a coincidence that today President Trump is receiving in the White House the major-elect Mr. Mondani from the city of New York, or from New York City. And I salute the president for receiving Mr. Mondani, because he won fair and square, and that's the way democracy works. But let me just tell you something, knowing very well how Fidel works and how Hugo Chavez works and how socialism works, that I just want to put this into perspective. If it were to be the other way around, and Trump would have been the mayor-elect, and Mondani were to be the president of the United States, I assure you that there's no way that Mondani is going to receive Trump at the White House, period. And how do I know that? Because I know exactly how they operate. Democracy is just a tool to get to power, period. People who love freedom were just useful fools to be used in order to get to the business of power, which is all socialist, communist, whatever you want to call it. If it's not democracy and freedom and free market economy, it's just a bad ideology. And unfortunately, that's what they do to achieve power. They use us. Just look at Venezuela. Oh my God, Venezuela, it's in the news, right? Everyone is talking about Venezuela. Oh my God, the Caribbean. Well, let me just give you the facts. Maria Corina Machado, who is the legitimate president of Venezuela, who won 80-20 after President Biden gave the opportunity, President Biden gave the opportunity to Maduro to do fair and square election and transparent elections, right? 2 years ago, Maduro signs a document by the name of the Barbados Agreement. And he agrees to the Biden administration and to Juan Gonzalez, who used to be the National Security Advisor at the time for Latin America, that he was going to leave if he did not win the elections. And he signed that document with the Biden administration. And what did he do? He just spit on Biden's face. Because we believed that, oh my God, Biden, look what he's doing. It's good. It's a good idea. Give the opportunity to Maduro to just create and to conduct free and fair and transparent elections with international observers. And he was going to go. Look where he's at now. Maduro is not only the head of the Suns cartel, one of the most important drug trafficking cartels in the world. He was indicted in 2020 by a federal grand jury in this country for being one of the major drug traffickers in the world. Not only that, he is now on the transnational criminal organization. Not only that, he is the head of the Suns cartel. And you tell me, Chairman, if I can.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield the gentlewoman an additional minute.
The lady from Florida is recognized for 1 minute.
So, I mean, as you can see, I can speak until tomorrow about socialism. And the problem is that Venezuela is the perfect example. And the Venezuelans would make fun of the Cubans 25 years ago, saying that it was impossible for that to happen in Venezuela. They had the largest reserves of oil in the world. They were a very strong democracy. They were not an island. It was impossible. They had such a strong economy. Look right now, the average Venezuelan weighs 15 pounds less because of lack of food. And look, the Trump administration has to come and rescue them from what they have turned that country into. So we're at a crossroads in this country. Young Americans, 70% believe that socialism is good. 1 in 3 believe that government should control major industries. 1 in 4 says that we should abolish private property. It is my duty as a representative, District Number 27, the heart of the Cuban exile community, to tell this body it's time to denounce socialism in this country, because just like it happened to the Venezuelans, it could happen to the Americans. I yield back.
I reserve.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume. I wish we were here on the House floor this morning debating solutions that would reduce grocery bills, lower housing costs, end Trump's tariffs strangling American small businesses and manufacturers, solve the Republican health care crisis, or any legislation that allows Americans to afford to live through the catastrophic economic policies of Trump and the Republicans. But instead of doing the work of our constituents desperately want us to do, Republicans in the House have chosen once again to advance a resolution under the guise of denouncing, quote, socialism. Let me be clear. This resolution is an embarrassing distraction from the complete and total failure of the Trump administration to deliver actual results for the American people. And the American people see right through it. 61% of Americans say that Trump's policies have worsened economic conditions in this country, quote unquote. And 64% of Americans say Trump policies are raising the prices of food and groceries. What's worse is that this resolution, this very resolution, goes further by using the specter of socialism to undermine some of the most important government programs in our country, like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and Obamacare, programs that help everyday Americans put food on their plate and care for their children. Republicans absurdly think they can convince Americans these programs that are decades old are leading America toward a Stalinist Russia, even though it is blatantly obvious that the policies of Donald Trump are straight out of a dictator's playbook. Mr. Speaker, the House returned this week from the Trump Republican shutdown, the longest government shutdown in American history. And while House Republicans gave themselves a paid 2-month vacation, hundreds of thousands of federal employees were left wondering how they were going to pay their rent or mortgage, and 42 million Americans nearly lost their food assistance. And what was the Trump administration doing? Instead of working with Congress to end the shutdown or with local communities to blunt the impacts of the shutdown, it decided to use the full force of the United States government to make sure these American families went hungry, fought twice in the Supreme Court to block legally available funds for being used to help feed them, further chipped away at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and fired an entire office dedicated to helping rural and struggling communities. The Community Development Financial Institutions Fund. All of this because Republicans want to raise the cost for people with Obamacare, health insurance. 22 million Americans will see their monthly health insurance premiums double, and up to 5 million Americans will likely lose their insurance altogether. Where is the Republican plan? Where's the plan? Where's the plan to deal with all of this? They don't have one because they think keeping health care costs low is socialist. If Republicans truly cared about denouncing authoritarian socialism, they'd start with the Trump administration. In less than 1 year, the Trump administration has demanded U.S. companies like Intel, U.S. Steel, MP Materials, Lithium Americas, and Triology Metals to hand over stock to the U.S. government, the President of the United States, capitalist countries, companies who are doing business that they claim they support, that this government supports. Trump is also considering forcing Lockheed Martin to do the same. Why are my colleagues who are so quick to tout their capitalist leans silent when Trump follows China's communist tactics? The double standard is astounding. This resolution also seeks to condemn atrocities committed by despotic regimes such as Joseph Stalin and Mao Zedong, while everyone in this chamber agrees should be condemned. But somehow, once again, this resolution fails to condemn some of the history's most terrible dictators like Adolf Hitler and modern-day dictators like Vladimir Putin, who is responsible for killing countless people in Ukraine, or President Tsai, who basically runs actual concentration camps for ethnic minorities. Why aren't House Republicans denouncing these dictators when we, as Congress, can actually do something to stop? Probably because President Trump has said he thinks Putin has done, quote, a great job, quote, unquote, and is a genius. Or maybe because he thinks President Tsai is really a friend of mine, quote, unquote. In time with these authoritarian regimes, just last week, Trump said Democrats in the House and Senate had committed seditious behavior, punishable by death, and reposted a post saying, hang them. We should be working as Congress to denounce these horrific words, not beloved government programs like Medicare and Medicaid. And just as those authoritarian regimes are often rife with corruption, the Trump family is also doing everything possible to enrich itself. Since taking office, they have issued their own stablecoins and meme coins and various crypto products, even as Congress was in the middle of considering legislation and regulators were drafting rules. In fact, the Trump family is more than $1 billion richer from crypto alone since Trump took office, and Trump's billionaire buddies have also made fistfuls of money as the rest of America struggles to just put food on the table. The access is so great that Trump is literally tearing down the White House to build a golden ballroom, sending $40 billion to bail out Argentina and his billionaire buddies, and hosting Great Gatsby-themed parties at Mar-a-Lago. This resolution is a huge waste of time and does absolutely nothing to lower costs or solve any of the problems that our country faces. I urge my colleagues to vote no on this resolution, and if they keep it up, I'm going to name all of the Republicans who took PPP money. Is that socialism? I'm going to name them who are taking advantage of other programs that they call socialist. I'm going to do it if they keep this up. I urge my colleagues to vote no on this resolution, and I reserve the balance of my time.